Every tax season, the amount of Canadians who are filing their return online via NetFile is increasing, with over 10 million Canadian taxpayers opting to now file on their own via online service providers as of 2023. And if you're someone who has a relatively basic tax return that doesn't require the advice and strategy of an accountant, so maybe you have a T4 or two, a couple deductions, and some RRSP contributions, then chances are you can file your tax return online and for free in less than an hour with what we'll be looking at in today's video. The platform we'll be using is called Wealthsimple Tax. I've been speaking about this platform for several years now on the channel, and it essentially allows you to file your taxes quite easily and for free if you choose to opt out of the tip option before submitting your return. And I mentioned this because I had quite a few people in my video from last year saying that Wealthsimple now charges $25 to file the return, but that's not actually true. They pre-populate the payment option at $25, but you can easily opt out by simply entering 0 as you would when the tip option pops up at Subway. So with that said, let's jump into the platform and look over how to file your return. And by the way, you can follow along by signing up using the link down below in this video's description. I am not affiliated with Wealthsimple, by the way, for their tax platform, and I'm not being paid for this at all. It's just a really simple and straightforward platform. So all I'd ask in return is that you leave this video a like. Let's jump into the platform. All right, so here we are within the Wealthsimple Tax platform. And right off the bat, I just want to mention that you're going to see here Griffin's 2023 tax return. Now, keep in mind that you're always filing for the tax return of the year prior. So in 2025 right now, you're still going to be submitting your 2024 tax return. The reason why we're seeing 2023 right now, though, is because I'm actually filming this on January 12th of 2025. And so you can't now yet submit your 2024 tax return, and I'm doing this preemptively. That being said, this is going to be the exact same process and overall platform if you're doing your 2024 tax return in probably a couple of weeks from when you're watching this video. So the way Wealthsimple Tax works, though, is that it essentially works on a block system. Okay, so as you're filing your tax return, you're going to be adding blocks and sections essentially to your tax return, and that is after the initial part, which is going to be your about you, as well as other information like mailing address, residency, and so forth. So let's go through this right now. The first section called about you, you're essentially going to put information here, your name, middle name if you have one, and your last name, as well as your social insurance number. And that is a mandatory file because it is what's going to be identifying you with CRA on a more effective level when you are submitting your actual tax return. All right, so once that's done, preferred language, English, French, and is this the return of a deceased person if you're filing a return for a loved one who may have passed away a year prior. So in this case, we're gonna put no, and then we can keep going. The next section here is called NetFile access code. All right, so if you have a NetFile access code, you would put it right here. If you don't, it actually does not matter. Next section is called mailing address. So pretty straightforward here. You're just going to put your mailing address, and that is going to be your home, most likely. The next one is your residency. So were you a Canadian resident for all of 2023 or 2024 when you're going to be submitting this? Most of you are going to be a yes. If it is a no, well, you have to input it here. And then a secondary question will come up here. Did you become a resident of Canada? In parentheses, immigrate for income tax purposes in 2023. Let's say it was a yes, we'll put that there. And then another question pops up as well. Do you agree that it is your responsibility to properly report your income, and etc. And we'll put yes. All right. This is essentially if you're a newcomer to Canada, all right, you're going to have to put a little bit more information about your Canadian source versus foreign source income. For all sake, though, of this video, we're going to put yes to tax resident as it is most likely going to be the case for a lot of you watching. From here, the next section about your province or territory. So in which province did you live on December 31st, 2024? You are going to put the province you live in. In this case, we'll put Ontario. And if you changed provinces, you also have to indicate this here as well. So let's say I moved from, Nunavut on the 12th of July. You would put that here and indicate if your home address is the same as your mailing address and so forth. which province do you currently live? In this case, we'll put Ontario to match that top one. All right, from here, the next section is you and your family. So this is where you're going to be telling the CRA if you live alone, if you're married, if you are common law, as well as if you have any dependents like children or whatnot. All right, so in this case, let's put married just for sake of example. Do you want to prepare your returns together, right? Because if you're married, you can prepare your returns together and file them jointly. In this case, we'll just put no because it'll be a bit simpler. Did your marital status change? We'll put no. And then do you have any dependents? Yes, let's say I have a couple children. All right, and then did you have any children in shared custody? We will put no in this case. All right, now from here, the next section is other stuff we have to ask, right? These are just going to be run-of-the-mill questions that are utilized to determine if you are entitled to certain credit or certain benefits, right? So for example, are you filing an income tax return for the first time? We're gonna put no. Canadian citizen, yes. As a Canadian citizen, do you authorize the CRA to give your name, etc., to National Register of Electors or whatnot? We're going to put yes in this case. Are you a person registered under the Indian Act? I am not. So we're going to put no. Then from here, property and things that you may have invested in. Did you own or hold any foreign property where the total cost of such property at any time in the year was more than 100,000 Canadian dollars? We will put no. Most of you it will be no, but let's say you have a vacation rental or a home somewhere else, you would have to put yes here. All right. Did you dispose of your principal residence? We did not. If you sold your house though, keep in mind that it is tax-free gains on your primary residence. All right. So if we put yes, well, later on as well in the return, we're going to want to identify that. All right. New for 2023, did you flip a property? That is due to the anti-flipping taxes or whatnot, and that still applies for 2024, so that will be there. And did you open an FHSA essentially? So if you did, you're going to put yes here. And from here, the last one, were you confined to a prison for a period of 90 days or more in 2023, which is possible. For me, it is a no. All right, next block here, Canada carbon rebate. We're just going to skip over this for now. We're going to put no though. If this applies to you, read through it and determine whether or not it's a yes or a no. Organ tissue donor, we'll just put no for the sake of this example as well. And then Ontario Trillium, this is only for Ontario residents. We will put no as well. But you know, if this applies to you, of course, put yes, right? All right, and then My CRA account. Are you registered for CRA My Account, right? If you've ever logged into CRA online, then the answer is going to be yes. And if you're not, by the way, definitely sign up because it's a great way to go and see what your TFSA room is, your RRSP room, as well as keeping track of other things like taxes owed and so forth. All right, so in this case, we're gonna put yes here. Do you want to sign up for online mail? For me, that's always a benefit because CRA, they're going to put messages in your inbox and you get an email notifying you anyways. So we're going to put yes, and you're going to put in your email address and confirm it. All right, so that is pretty much the first section, the about you, that everyone has to fill out for a Wealthsimple tax return. And realistically, no matter what platform you use, or even if you went to H&R Block and used an accountant, all of that information would be collected anyways. All right, now from here, we've made it through that About You section, and this is where you're really going to start bringing your tax return to life. All right, so the first section here, autofill your return, is because you can actually connect Wealthsimple to certain platforms like Wealthsimple Crypto. If you have traded any cryptocurrencies over the past year, it is going to auto calculate and populate any capital gains tax that you might owe. It's going to import those slips into your return. The second one though is a bit more relevant, being CRA My Account, where you can connect with your CRA My Account to essentially bring in any T slips, like most likely a T4 slip that you might have, directly into your tax return. And the reason why you might want to do this is because whenever your employer is going to be submitting a T4, it's going to appear in your CRA account anyways, right? With all of the information. So instead of having to go in and manually input everything yourself, by doing this, if you choose to do so, it's going to auto-populate everything on your behalf. Now, keep in mind though, even if you do this, you're definitely going to want to look over everything manually yourself. but this could save you a little bit of time as well. And then also, Wealthsimple actually also allows you to connect to a bunch of other Canadian crypto brokerages. So if you want to do that, you can do that here as well. All right, but we're going to go into the next section here, being manage your tax forms. Okay, so this is where you're going to report your T4 slips, any T5 slips you might have, RRSP contributions, donations, or any other tax credit or deduction that you want to report on your tax return. So because a T4 slip is the most common thing, we're going to start with that. All right, so you're going to click on the add income tax forms and you essentially search them here. As you can see, there are dozens upon dozens of forms that you can add. Employment income being T4 is the top one, as it's the most popular. So as you can see here, that essentially added a block to our tax return, being the T4 statement of remuneration paid. So in this case, you would put in, say, Cisco Canada, all right, as an example. I'm pretty sure 414 is your income. Pretty sure 54,000. All right, so that's like, let's say you made 54,000 in gross. Well, on the side here, you can see your return. You can see how much you owe or how much is going to be refunded to you in real time, right? So based on $54,000 of income without any other deductions or whatnot, you would essentially owe a total of $8,600, split between, in this case, the federal and provincial being Ontario tax. All right, let's say I made $150,000 from this employer. We would put that in here and it is going to change that in real time. We could see now almost 44 grand. All right, so in this case, Ontario was where we were working, and you would fill in everything else on your T4 slip as it was given to you by your employer and probably in your MyCRA account as well. All right, if you have another T4 slip though, let's say you worked somewhere else, you also worked part-time at Subway and you made, $14,000 over weekends. Again, it's going to update in real time and you're going to see that change here. You owe an extra $6,000. All right, so that is how you report your T4 income. Now from here, you might have other information such as, for example, investment income, right? If you're someone who invests in non-registered accounts, well, the brokerage is going to send you a T5 slip at the end of the year to report your investment income. That's a very common slip. So we're going to add one right here. All right, name of payer, for example, let's say you're investing with TD or Moomoo or Wealthsimple. Let's just say you had an account through Wealthsimple. You would put that there. And I'm pretty sure 24, you must also enter the taxable amount of eligible dividends. All right, slot 24 here is the amount of dividends. Let's say you made $3,000 in dividends that year, you would report it here. And then you would also fill everything in the same manner. All right, if it's a joint account, let's say it was 50-50 with a business partner or your spouse, you would put that here. And now all of a sudden, well, you're only going to be reporting tax on 50% of those dividend payments. Now, of course, I hope you understand here that I'm running through all of the different forms and how the overall Wealthsimple tax platform works. I don't know exactly what all of the boxes represent for each form here, but this is going to be how you report your income on your tax return. All right, now what about another thing, right? What about if you had RRSP room and you made a contribution? Well, of course, you're going to want to report that. So you would click on RRSP contributions and deduction. Now, let's say your 2024 RRSP deduction limit was like $50,000, all right, because you had some accumulated room. Well, that's fine. You would put that here and you're going to report your contribution. So did you make any RRSP contributions or have any transfers? Let's say yes. Contribution from March 2nd to December 31st, which is the standard period of time when you're going to be making your contributions. And you made, say, a $7,500 contribution. That's not where that goes. It goes right here. $7,500 contribution, that is going to be reflected over into your taxes owing, right? Because RRSP contributions count as a deduction. All right, so that is the basis of the RRSP deduction form. If you have any homebuyer plan information, you would input it here as well. So that is really how it works, all right? If you have anything else, right, medical expenses, you made any donations, you have a disability tax credit, you really just come into the platform here and you search for it. Disability, right? Disability amount is going to be a tax credit if you're eligible. right? So you would come here and you would input this as well. Okay, and so although I'm sure you understand the gist of how this platform works now, I really just want to show you how many forms there are here that you can report on your tax return. Because again, everything that an accountant would be able to access, you can do so as well yourself. If you have, say, self-employment income, well, you need to report that on a T2125 slip, which is business, professional, and commission income. If you're selling t-shirts, if you're doing anything at the personal name and generating income from it, you would do that there. Additionally, if you're, say, a homeowner, you can click on these filters here and it's going to show you all the different forms that you have access to. Moving expense deduction, home buyer's amount, rental income, right? If you have rental properties, you need to, of course, report all that. So you would click on that. It's going to, once again, add a section here where you can say where the property is located and declare the income, the expenses, capital cost allowance, and so forth. So it's a really all-in-one inclusive platform where you're able to report everything. Now, once you're confident that you're done with your return, you're going to go to the next section, which is called Review and Optimize. So you essentially come here and you click on Review and Optimize, and we're going to do that now. And it's going to show you all of the errors, the warnings, and then also suggestions that you can bring to your return. Now, I did this one super poorly. There's tons of things that are not even included here. I didn't even input, but let's take a look at a couple examples. So errors. The first one, there's a problem with something you entered. You can find the problem by clicking in the red and clicking fix it, all right? So we're gonna click fix it here. And in this case, we did not put our email address. So that's a pretty straightforward one, but everything else that's in red also needs to be input, right? Because at the beginning we said, yes, we're gonna file it jointly with our spouse. Well, here you need to input everything about your partner as well. So everything in red is going to be mandatory that you need to fill out. Coming back down, we have warnings as well. So for example, if you moved, please change your address with the CRA before submitting your return. All right, that's a good warning. What about other ones, right? You didn't report CPP or QPP in box 16 or 17 on a T4 slip. Of course, because, well, I didn't input everything because I was just showing you how to do it. But you would want to input everything as it was declared by your employer so that you don't have any warnings or errors on your tax return as well. All right, and then other suggestions down here, you may be eligible to claim employment expenses if you worked from home. Good to know. You may be eligible for the digital news subscription tax credit. Actually, this one here was phased out as of 2024. So this would not apply if you're watching this in 2024. But yeah, that is going to be that section there. And then finally, we have the summary, all right? So this is going to summarize everything that you put in your tax return. For example, your credits and deductions, these are the only ones, and the amount balance owing. So we can see here, it's going to summarize everything as it will show on your T1. So employment income total that we declared 164. And then everything else, any net federal tax, provincial tax, total payable of almost $45,000 in this example. And then that's pretty much it. In this last section of documents, well, you're able to download your T1 as well as all these other documents. And of course here you would click on submit, and this is going to directly submit it to the CRA on your behalf. And let's say you're in Quebec, it's also going to submit it to Revenue Quebec. Of course, we can't do this here because there's a bunch of errors that need to be addressed. But of course, if this is you doing it, all of those would be addressed in due time. All right, so there you have it. A really simple and straightforward way to file your tax return this season for little to no money at all, especially if you're someone who has a very basic tax return that's bulletproof. I wouldn't pay a dime for this service, but if you are someone who, has a ton of deductions, maybe some rental income as well, some business income at the personal level, I'd consider spending the $40 just to get that audit protection in case something were to happen. But of course, this is up to you. Additionally, if you want to learn more about tax deductions, tax credits, and other ways to reduce your taxes legally, of course, then make sure to check out my other tax-related videos on the channel in the tax playlist, as well as by using the links down below in this video's description. Thanks a lot for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.